Did you email it to me or no?
I can't
To
draft
the
a complete
secretary.
resolution in 10 minutes.
No,
Come on.
To the secretary.
I thought you were gonna send it.
Maybe to
Okay,
Jessica, the
then I'm
secretary.
going
So you'll
to
be right.
forward the brief. And they can take action on
Whichever
it.
one you want.
Well, they can take action on the brief, then we'll get a resolution and circulate it electronically.
Okay, I'm going to forward the brief.
Oh. I'm sitting here. Beds.
Oh, I don't have it.
That might be right.
Really?
Yeah.
No. We got it and we checked with Charles. He gets to pick it.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's good. That's. Yeah, like, it was, remember it was something. Somebody called me. I'm sure it was cool. He was cool with friends. That's why we got it. Christine, can you
I
tell me
believe so.
if when we have 3 other commissioners at least on there? Because I
Yeah,
can
they're
see
on
it.
I think we're really,
They're all in there. I'm not going in there.
they're.
Dave? Over in here.
Good, good.
Excuse me, if you're participating by Zoom, please correct your name to your first and last name so we know who's participating.
Gary Tonjes is here.
Do we have any other commissioners?
Mr. Chair, did you need, this is Gary.
Are there any additional commissioners present? Commissioner Taylor? There he is.
Yeah, it looks like he just got in now.
Commissioner Chenoweth?
Yeah, she's in there now. right?
Okay.
Okay, let's get the party started. Welcome, everybody. I want to call to order the special meeting of December 16, 2024, New Mexico State Transportation Commission here in Santa Fe. I want to remind everybody that we are doing this meeting via Zoom. And so we will need for everybody to identify themselves when they are speaking. We will take a roll call vote on everything. And so I will go ahead and can you do a roll call to make sure that we have established a quorum?
Chairman Adams?
Here.
Vice Chair Chenoweth?
Here.
Commissioner Tonjes?
Here.
Commissioner Taylor?
Here.
Commissioner Lundstrom?
4 commissioners are present, and so a quorum has been established. If we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Secretary, if you'll lead us.
I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Fellow commissioners, you have had a chance to review the agenda. Is there any additions, deletions, or any other comments? If not, what is the pleasure of this commission? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Chenoweth. Do I have a second?
Second, Tonjes.
I have a second by Commissioner Tonjes. Can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Chenoweth?
Yes.
Commissioner Tonjes?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Adams?
Yes. We now have approval of the minutes. You've had a chance to review them. Is there any changes, comments, additions, deletions? If not, what is the pleasure of the commission? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Tonjes,
Second.
second by Commissioner Chenoweth. May I have a roll call?
Commissioner Tonjes?
Yes.
Commissioner Chenoweth?
Yes.
Commissioner Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
That carries unanimously. I will go on now to public comment. Is there anyone here that has come to speak on behalf of public comment? Let's move on to number 5, action items. Bar number 14.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I know I don't look like Denise, but I'm in her stead today. She's got a sick kiddo. So this bar is for fiscal year 25 bar is required to increase the budget authority and contract service CAT 300 by $5 million. This is $5 million coming from our federal 2022 infra grant from the USDOT. The funds will be used for the purchase of right-of-way acquisition. The project develops approximately 7.5 miles of both 4-lane directional separated and 2-lane highway connecting the Santa Teresa port of entry with State Road New Mexico 273 in Sunland Park. Respectfully requesting bar approval. Pending
Is there
questions.
any comments, any questions for fellow commissioners? If not, what is your recommendation, Mr. Secretary?
Mr. Chairman, recommend approval bar 14 for the federal 2022 infra grant by USDOT.
We have a recommendation by the secretary. What is the pleasure of this commission for approval of bar number 14, P562-CDC?
I'll move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Taylor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Chenoweth. Can I get a roll call vote?
Commissioner Tonjes,
Yes.
Commissioner Chenoweth,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes,
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
that motion carries, or approval carries unanimously. We'll move on to resolution 2024-06, authorizing NMDOT to execute amendments extending the advance termination date of the BNSF 50 million line of credit.
The STC previously authorized NMDOT to enter various agreements with BNSF concerning the sale of certain rights of way and other property interests and the operation, maintenance, and use of such property to NMDOT. One of the requirements is that NMDOT maintain a $50 million escrow, now a line of credit, to address liability BNSF may incur related to rail runner service. To meet some of the requirements of the BNSF NMDOT rail runner agreements, the commission authorized the New Mexico Finance Authority to enter into a BNSF taxable line of credit with Wells Fargo Bank and authorized NMDOT to enter into the BNSF taxable revolving line of credit agreement dated June 14th, 2013. Known as the original agreement. This original agreement draws on the line of credit during the term of the agreement or until a later date as agreed to by the parties. The commission has authorized extensions of this advanced termination date in 2015, in 2019, and again in 2022. As of this date, the termination date is June 30th of 2025. The NMDOT, the Finance Authority, and the line of credit provider desire to extend the advanced termination date to June 30th, 2028, and to modify the definition of undrawn fees to increase the basis points from 19 to 22, and to make certain amendments to the agreements in connection with the extension and related modifications.
Did you have any comments, Mark?
No, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to let you know that the Finance Authority Board did meet last week, and they did approve the agreement and did, as well as the resolution contingent upon your approval.
And is it your recommendation also?
Yes.
Okay, is there any questions, any comments from fellow commissioners? If not, Mr. Secretary, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chair, recommend approval of this extension to the 50 million line of credit for the BNSF.
Do we have a motion for resolution unless legislation authorizing the State Transportation Commission to issue bonds for road maintenance and construction pursuant to section 67-59.3. Section 0.67-59.2, which pertains to the highway infrastructure. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Shit. It must be Christmas. And let me go back. Is there a motion for, and we have a recommendation from Secretary for Resolution 2024-06, DEC authorizing NMDOT to execute amendments extending the advanced termination date of the BNSF 50 million line of credit to June. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Tonjes,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Taylor. Can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Tontas,
Yes.
Commissioner Chenoweth,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes,
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
that carries unanimously. Now we're gonna go ahead and move on to the resolution on legislation authorizing the State Transportation Commission to issue bonds for road maintenance and construction pursuant to section, and I'll read the rest of it once we get to that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I apologize. I got the brief to you just a little bit ago, but if you check your emails, you should be able to see it. Otherwise, I think it's up on the screen. I can't see that far. The the next action item is a request from the commission to consider essentially recommending that the cabinet secretary and myself introduce legislation in the 2025 legislative session, requesting legislative authority that conforms to section 67(3)-59(1)D. So let me talk a little bit about the statute. Essentially, as you are all aware, the State Transportation Commission has the authority to issue bonds for state road projects, both highway construction and maintenance projects. It can do so, according to my interpretation of statute, up to $50 million. Any amount in excess of $50 million, the authority would need to be granted to the commission by the New Mexico legislature. We have been working over the past couple of months with a think tank of individuals who have a background in highway maintenance construction funding and long-term funding strategies. In fact, Mr. Mark Lovato was part of that group in addition to many others. What we've essentially done is we've worked on several strategies aimed at creating increased long-term revenue distributions for the Mexico Department of Transportation. We know that over the last 4 or 5 years, the cost of doing construction has increased by at least 20%, and that's a conservative estimate. Because revenues over that period of time have remained, for the most part, flat, it's a safe assumption to say that we're fundamentally able to afford 20% less work compared to 2019. So what we're looking at doing is not only offsetting the cost of doing business, but creating a revenue stream that can also offset the growing need for roadway maintenance and construction. According to the last TRIP report, which was presented last year by the associate contractors in New Mexico, the State Department of Transportation has a $6 billion gap in its roadway construction and maintenance of existing assets and bridges. And so what we are recommending to you all today is this action to essentially approve a resolution that would recommend I introduce the legislation requesting that authority. The existing statute would allow for the commission to incur a total debt of $1,124,000,000, all debt included, meaning that we would first subtract from that total authority existing debt service. The remaining would become capacity for highway maintenance and road construction projects. And so in the commission brief, you'll see the statutory reference to both the need for legislative authority, and you'll see the statutory reference for the condition that would allow the commission to incur up to the $1.124 billion of total bond debt. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, I'll stand for any questions. Well, before I turn it over, I want to read just this last sentence here in the brief. The option, if the legislature were to authorize the commission to issue this debt, the option would be exercised following a comprehensive review of the agency's capacity to repay the debt with consideration of existing and any new revenue generated over the debt service period. It's important to note that legislative authority to incur debt does not impose that requirement to incur debt. It fundamentally gives the commission the option of incurring that debt based on your comfortableness with our financial position and ability and capacity to repay the debt. And so this essentially gives you the option of having that discussion. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to any questions.
So basically, this is just authorizing it. So if you make the request to the legislature that they see that the commission has approved it, and we're okay if it was to get approved.
Mr. Chairman, that's probably the best way to place it, to put it on the table. Last year, when the discussion began and ended quickly, when the discussion began, we did receive a number of inquiries from lawmakers about whether or not the commission would even consider incurring debt if it did have the authority. And so getting ahead of that discussion, we're bringing to you the resolution and we're prepared to actually draft and introduce the legislation. Then we'd be able to answer that question unequivocally.
Now, would there be any further approval that would be needed if the legislature was to go ahead and approve it at that point, or does this supersede that? And
Mr. Chairman, this would just give you the option, if the legislation were to pass, the commission could opt to not issue debt entirely. It could opt to issue partial debt over a period of time, or it could opt to incur that debt all at once, depending on our capacity from a personnel, human resources perspective, and our capacity from a financial debt service perspective.
so there would still be one more step in approval. So this is just to see if, so that it's introduced into legislation with prior approval, with approval coming later, whether or not to incur the debt or not incur the debt.
Exactly, Mr. Chairman. It would be equivalent to going to a bank and getting a pre-qualification to buy a car. You would have that letter with your interest rate and the amount you could finance. That doesn't mean you have to buy a car. It just means that if you found one, you'd have that pre-authorization ready from a borrower, from a lender rather.
Is there any other questions from fellow commissioners? Any discussion, any comments?
I would like to say something here. I'm Commissioner Chenoweth. Thank you, Secretary Serna, for bringing this as an option to us. I feel like we need as many tools as possible and options to meet the needs of the traveling public and our roads and infrastructure needs. So thank you for doing this, and I appreciate the opportunity to vote on it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions or comments? With that, do I have a motion for approval for the resolution on legislation authorizing the State Transportation Commission to issue bonds for road maintenance and construction pursuant to section 67-59.3, section 67-59.2, which pertains to the Highway Infrastructure Fund?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Chenoweth. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Taylor.
Tonjes.
It was both.
Tonjes.
It was fun.
Ed, can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Tonjes,
Yes.
Commissioner Chenoweth,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
That carries unanimously. And I think that brings us to the end of the meeting, correct? I don't have it.
Or just adjournment. Yeah.
It's right here.
Oh, the calendar,
It's not
meeting
on
calendar.
It's on Monday.
Okay, so. Oh, okay, there we go. Proposed State Transportation Committee 2025 meeting calendar and locations. And I'll turn it over to you. I'll turn it over to Christine.
Good afternoon, Chairman Adams and commissioners. The proposed schedule that is attached to this brief is consistent with the STC schedules from previous years, with one exception, which is District 5 in January. Due to the Legislation and Pavement Conference, it's proposed that District 5 have its meeting on Tuesday, January 14th, which is scheduled to be held in Los Alamos.
So we have, just to read it into the record, we have January 14th, Los Alamos. We have March 20th, Grants, Milan, District 6. The first one was District 5. May 15th, District 2, that being Cloudcroft. In July 17th, June 26th, that would be in Mora. September 18th, District 3, that would be in Albuquerque. And I would just say that for right now, we had Elephant Butte, but I would just leave that one blank We're in the process of discussing it with the D1 engineer and also district engineer. And also we should be having a commissioner coming on by the end of in the next week or two, hopefully. So I would just leave that one open. So I would ask for a motion that we approve the January 14th, Los Alamos, March 20th, Grants Milan, May 15th, Cloudcroft, July 17th, Mora, September 18th, Albuquerque. Is there any discussion, any changes? With that, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the schedule.
We have a motion, Commissioner Taylor, to approve the location and dates for the 2025 STC schedule. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tonjes. Can I get a roll call vote?
Commissioner Tonjes,
Yes.
Commissioner Chenoweth,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
And that carries unanimously. And on the D1, as soon as we get some clarification, I hope to have it on the agenda for our meeting up in Los Alamos. So with that, is there any other business or anyone else or anything else to come before this Transportation Commission? If not, I just want to wish everybody safe and happy holidays. And we will see everybody back in January. And so with that, I will go ahead and ask for a motion for adjournment at approximately 2:23.
So moved.
Record. So moved by Commissioner Chenoweth. Have a second.
No. Second.
Second by Commissioner Taylor and Tonjes. And I'll get it one last roll call vote just for the record.
Commissioner Tonjes,
Yes.
Commissioner Chenoweth,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes,
Commissioner Taylor.
Yep.
we're officially adjourned.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Okay, happy
Happy holidays.
holidays.
Thank you too.
Old record.
23 minutes.
That wasn't bad.
No, not bad. You got it.
See you later. Have a
Right.
good one. You too. One of the